Hello everyone, welcome to Drawing with Blizzard Ninja. This is the animation course that we're having right now. So what so today what we'll be talking about is staging. As you can see on my screen right there, staging. What is staging? Staging is the third law, the third principle of animation, one of the most important laws. Before you can start making any animated series or any animated short films or any skits, staging is the most important element that you need. All right, because staging is basically it's the placement of certain of characters in a certain background. Like sorry, so it's a setup of characters in a certain environment or background. But not only that, it also goes hand in hand with the setup. So before you animate, you have to set up your environment. So that's where staging comes along. But then again, it does happen when as you go along, because I mean, each time you animate or each time you do something, the environment needs to be staged. Think about it like this: before you can start acting, right? Before you can start acting, or maybe you're gonna do a play or something, you don't come through with your home clothes and then you go on the stage and then you start performing in your home clothes. No, you need to prepare. You need to get into character. You need to wear your outfits that you need to wear. You need to go on the stage. You need to prep your lines. All of that. That's staging. But of course, there's no line prepping. All there, of course, there is line prepping for you as the animator, but for the characters, not so much. You basically tell the characters what to do and how to act and what to how to act and what to do in that place in that current moment, which is what staging is. So basically, you're setting up the environment before you do anything. It's much simpler to do in 3D animation, because with 3D animation, you just open a 3D software, you build your background or model your background, you model your characters, and then you just place your characters in the background where you want to animate and add a camera. Boom, done. And you just start rigging. But here in 2D animation, it becomes a bit of a challenge. Not so much, but a little bit. The reason being, it's because what happens is now you just have to set up everything from scratch. So you have to set up the background, then you have to set up the background by drawing it. Then on top of that, you still need to draw what you still need to draw the characters into those backgrounds. But let's dive into depth so that you guys can understand exactly what staging is all about. So these are basically the principles or the certain aspects that go into staging. Number one is the background. Of course, it's the environment where your characters live, right? It's where they live. It's where they're doing whatever they're doing. It's where they're acting whatever they're acting. It's where the fights happen, the storyline happens, the romantical dates happen, the inventions happen. Everything that you'll be thinking of, it happens in the environment. That's number one. Two, the character placement, where you put your characters in that specific environment. Poses. What type of poses are they doing in that environment? You know what I mean? Silhouettes. What do their silhouettes look like? Of course, the silhouettes and the poses, they basically marry each other. It's the same thing. Just the silhouette is much more of a black outline. But let's get into it. I'll break everything down in detail so that you can understand how to do staging and how it works and how you can go along how you can do it as you go along. So first things first, here's the truth about people who animate, about us animators. This is the truth that you guys must know, that you must understand, that you must never be deceived. I'm gonna put my screen like this. As you can see, this that you see right here, it's a blank piece of paper. This is a canvas. We know it as the canvas. Yes, it's called a canvas, but it's a blank sheet of paper. That's what it is right here. Right? That's what it is right here. It's a blank sheet of paper. This thing that I'm moving around, it's a blank sheet of paper. So now, these are the tools. Everything you're seeing here, these are the tools that I am using to fill up information in this page so that you can see, or whatever idea I have goes onto that piece of paper in order for things to happen. But now, animation scenes, yes, they do take place in this paper, but the most important thing that you must always understand is you don't animate, you do animate, sorry, let me just put it this way. You don't use the whole paper to animate. Your animation doesn't cover this entire surface, like corner to corner in this piece of paper. No, It doesn't happen that way. Everything, whether it's from game development, whether it's 3D animation, whether it's 2D animation, whether it's just plain background design, the most important thing that you need is a camera. It's a camera. That's the most important thing that you need. And no, I'm not talking about a video camera that you have to go buy in the store. I'm talking about a digital camera in the screen. Blender has one. Let me open up Blender so that you can see exactly what I'm talking about. All right, so this is Blender right now. Right, this is Blender. So in Blender, there's three objects, right? This is what we call the 3D viewport. Everything that's here, this 3D environment, it's called the 3D viewport. And then they gave me a default cube. So the objects that I've got right now in this 3D viewport, it's a camera, a default cube, and a light. So now this is where the whole staging thing happens. So right now, animation, once again, doesn't happen in the 3D viewport. It does, but my point is you don't take the entire 3D viewport and then it becomes your animation. The camera lens has to look at a certain shot in order for that to become your animation. You know, it's just like the Marvel. It's just like with Marvel or with whichever movie. What happens, right, is whenever they get characters to act, and then they have a camera right there with them, and then they were filming everything. That's basically what animation is. So animation is the same thing. So let's dive into it. For me to access the camera in Blender, it's numpad 0. So as you can see, whatever, so now a box appears right here. This box appears around the cube. So that box is the camera. It's basically me videoizing what the cube is doing. So now I can select it. So yes, the orange box that you're looking at, that is the camera lens. So that's basically, it's a camera lens, but it's basically the screen that I'm watching the cube from. And around here, as you can see, it's much gray. Because why? The camera can't see this gray area. It can't see this gray stuff. It can only see what's within this orange box here. That's the camera, right? And that's the camera. And then, of course, there's the light, but we'll get into that much later. Now, back to Krita. So Krita, same story as Blender, but now here, the camera is not built in. Maybe it is, I don't know, but it's not built in. What I tend to do is I create my own camera by adding this box right here. So I animate all my scenes and everything within this box right here. Then of course the white area I crop out. I crop out when I'm done with my animation. I crop it out. Then I save whatever's in there. Whatever's in here. Because this part over here, nobody can see it. Like the camera, the screen can't see it. So that's what I'm saying. You don't use this entire sheet of paper to animate. You just animate in a small portion like this. That's part of staging. It's part of staging. So that normally I put it at the top because it's basically the all-seer of everything. Anyway, now let's talk about background design for a bit. So in background design, this box that I just created, or the camera, is known as the picture plane line. They call it a picture plane line, and it's also known as a picture plane. So with perspective, of course, you're gonna set up your environment with certain tools that you know, which is the vanishing point, right? So that's the horizon line, the red line that you see there, that's the horizon line. And then I'm gonna add like different lines to create a vanishing point. So I just want to show you guys a certain way like of how it's done. So basically this is the setup phase of the whole animation thing. This is basically the whole setup phase, like everything before you draw, because of course, like, you can't just draw characters. They need to exist somewhere. So this is where they'll have to exist. So of course over here it needs to be closer. The vanishing point needs to be closer. So this is known as 2-point perspective, and then there's 3-point. So there's 1-point perspective, there's 2-point perspective, there's 3-point perspective. those are the most important ones that you need to know. And then it depends on, again, what you'll be working on. So it goes up to 6. So there's 6-point perspective as well and all that. But that's all not important. So yes, this is what you call this thing, the vanishing points. So you start whatever structure you're drawing, whatever you're drawing, you're just going to start it over here. Then of course I'm going to create another layer, and I'm going to dim this one so that it doesn't confuse anybody. So now I'm going to start my little sketch, just going to follow all the lines in the vanishing point right there. Okay, now I'm going to make things go upwards. I don't necessarily need to do that, so I'm just going to put that over there. And then of course this will go there, that will go there, and then so you get what I'm doing over here. You get what I'm saying. So that's how it is. All right. So this is my little thing that I drew over here, with the vanishing point. So as you can see, it's got much more depth. So now so this little structure over here, now I can create my little character over there. So I can add a little, in fact, no, let me do it in a different color so that you can see. All right, here's my little character right there. Right, so as you can see, it's scaled. So oh yes, I almost forgot scaling. Scaling, it's another important aspect of when it comes to animation. Very, very important. When I write it in orange, it's cool. Scaling. I'll come back and I will explain this thing properly. Right now, I'm still explaining background design, character placement. So far, I've showed you this, and I'm now showing you this. And then, of course, poses, we're gonna get into that. But of course, everybody, I'm sure you guys know how to know what poses I'm talking about, right? But we'll get into depth. So as you can see, I placed my character there in this environment, right? I place my character there, and then can place another character over there, you know, just enjoying his life. And of course, I can place another character maybe here. So you get where I'm going with this. So as you can see, the much closer the character is to the picture plane line or the camera, the bigger the character gets. But the further apart, the further away they are, the smaller they are. So that's what staging is. This is basically staging. You understand? Yeah. And of course, when it comes to scaling, you then use this horizon line. I'm gonna switch off these characters, and I'm gonna create another thingy. So normally, how it's always depicted, especially in that book, the book that I recommended the other time, was the mechanics of motion, animation, the mechanics of motion. Yeah, it also talks about this scaling thing. So now I'm gonna show you guys over here how it's done, like practically. Okay, I'm gonna use pink, my wife's favorite color. Anyway, um, okay, so all right. So the further apart the character is in the background, the smaller they are. The closer they are to the background, the closer they are to the background, the bigger they are. So that's always something that you must always understand when it comes to staging. Because you're basically running a film set, but just this time, instead of you hiring a whole pit crew, or of actors. You have your own actors, which is your characters that you create, your animations. So again, you can also use this thing when you're animating, what you call this thing, characters walking walking closer to the camera. So you get where I'm coming from with this now. You get what's going on. So the further apart they are, the smaller they are, the further away from the camera they are. But the closer they are, the closer the characters are to the camera. All right. Now, a little bit of background design. What you call this thing? Background design. What you call this thing? Prep or course. Listen, listen very carefully. So, with the background is divided into three different segments. The foreground. Sorry, the extreme foreground. The extreme foreground is this is the picture plane. It's this. Where's my pink color? My wife's color. Anyway, so this is the extreme foreground. You know what I mean? The extreme foreground is the camera. The extreme foreground is the camera. So we have extreme foreground elements like maybe a certain rock will be here, trees maybe will be here. You know what I mean? So that's what we call extreme foreground elements. Even this character here is part of the extreme foreground elements. You understand? So the extreme foreground is this orange. Well, this it's the camera, the box that we created, the picture plane, as they know it in character design, in background design. That's the picture. That's the extreme foreground, and then there's the foreground. The foreground is here. It's here. It's just an inch into the camera. Because remember, the camera is converging. It's going that way. The camera is going that way, right? It's going that way. It's going inwards. So it's the extreme foreground, the foreground, and then this where this character is right here. That's known as the middle ground. It's the middle ground, and then there's the background. The background is over here at the back. Everything that's happening here is happening in the background. So you know what? Now let me create it in different colors so that you can have a clue of what I'm talking about, so that you can see. So let me use pink. I'm not gonna lie, I also kind of like the not the vibe, but the brightness that pink has. It stands out. Like I can use it a lot, and I can use it a lot over here so that you can actually see and stuff. So pink is a very practical color. If you were to ask me, I get why she likes it. But anyway, yeah, I'm gonna use orange. So remember, black is for the middle ground, is for the extreme foreground. Pink is the foreground. Orange is the middle ground. The middle ground, and then the background, we're gonna indicate that it may be red. But the problem is red. We already. Oh no, let's use yellow. Yellow for the background. So at least you can see that there's a box there. So extreme foreground, middle ground. I mean extreme foreground, middle ground, and the background. So staging 101. That's staging 101. And then above all that, now there's what you call this thing, there's poses. So with poses, again, I will teach you how to draw poses, but I mean poses is just a matter of a character doing a specific thing in a specific way. So let me use red this time. I was trying to avoid red because of the horizon line. But anyway, normally whenever it comes to poses, we're always gonna look. Okay, wait. So let me just check it off my list. So backgrounds, we've covered that. We've covered character placement. We've covered scaling. Now we're talking about silhouettes and poses, but these two they basically married. It's one and the same thing. The only difference between the two of them is that when it comes to when it comes to what you call this thing, when it comes to silhouettes are more black or white or blue or whatever color you can make them. But it's basically a pose that's been darkened, if you get what I mean. It's a pose that's been darkened, so it's not much. It's really not much. It's basically the same thing. You guys, you're gonna see in a minute. Okay, I'm gonna switch that off and I'm gonna go back here. So normally when it comes to poses of characters, like there's something called gestures. So gestures are basically certain aspects or certain poses or certain actions that are captured. It's basically um, motion actions that have been captured. What you call this thing in a specific way in a drawing. So let's make an example. So right now there's the action line. So the action line, there's two types. There's the C line and then there's the S line. So the S line will be like this, but we'll get into that. So let's just use the C line. It's gonna be much simpler to explain what I want to explain. So of course the head will be there. This line does not exist. It's just an imaginary line. So it's to guide you to on how the pose should be. Yes, it should guide you on how the pose should be. So create much more dynamic poses. Of course, you need to have opposing curves. Like your curves, your body needs to oppose. It needs to be opposing. So yeah, yeah. I'm gonna use shape gestures over here for this. Okay, so exactly as you see right here, exactly as you can see right here right now. So this is what you call this thing. This is a pose right now, right? This is a pose right now that's going on. So it's a character hanging from somewhere, reaching out his hand to something that's down there or to someone who's down there. So as you can see, the camera is capturing this right here. It's capturing this. That's what the camera is capturing. It's capturing this right now. That's what it can see. So that's the thing when it comes to poses. So it's this type of things. But of course, the pose is not gonna be a still image. It can be. At time, most of the time it is, but I mean, it's always an action of the character doing something in the background. So as you can see, your mind is already filling in gaps on the story that you can tell with this image that you're looking at right here, because this image is not still. It's giving you a form of life because of the dynamic shapes that I've drawn in there. You understand what I'm saying? So that's the thing. So that's what you should be looking at, right? That's how you should imagine it. But then of course I can add in maybe another scenario. Let's play around with this a bit. So I'm gonna maybe add a blue sky. I'm gonna add a blue sky. Whoops. Okay, I'm gonna add a blue sky. Maybe my bad. Maybe add clouds. You know, just add clouds to the background. And then of course, what we just discussed, the whole staging thing. Okay, so that's that. And then I'm gonna add maybe with the sky, let's darken it up a bit with some gradient. Okay, that's the opposite to what I wanted. Or maybe let's use the white. But now let's use it as yellow instead of it being white. There we go. Now white was perfect. Okay. All right. So now now in the environment is much, it's giving much more now. Now this pose, this scene right here on its own, it looks messy, yes, because obviously when you draw you're always supposed to be messy. We discussed this. But anyway, just look at this. Right, number one, it's giving you a storyline right now. He's telling you that he's on an aircraft, hanging from an aircraft, reaching out to his friend who's falling. And as you can see in his pose, that he's got regret, but at the same time he's reaching out. It's like, oh my god, I'm too late. I could have caught him, but he fell. You know what I mean? So right now he's hanging on for dear life, looking at his poor friend that's falling, plummeting down to the ground. As you can see, we set up the mood, we set up the background, right? We have set up the background right now. Look at it. It's what you call this thing. There's the whole sky right there. You know, there's the whole sky with clouds and everything. Then there's just him hanging on an aircraft for dear life. So you see what I'm saying? This is basically it, right? Just look at that. It's already giving you a storyline. Now you can just fill in the gaps in your mind and be like, okay, no, I want to do this. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. You know, and then of course let's give him a little bit of action. So I'm just gonna bob him up and down. I'm just gonna bob him left and right a bit. Okay, it looks like I made a mistake, but it's cool. We'll do that one on the next one. But as you can see, it's giving you that illusion that no man is in the sky. You know, he's in the sky. Something is bound to happen. You know, something's bound to happen, or maybe he's thinking to dive down or anything. You know what I'm saying? So that's the thing, guys, when it comes to staging. So of course, when it comes to silhouette, it's basically gonna be this but black. You know, let me just do it. It's basically this, but just all black, just all covered in black. Like, you guys know what a silhouette is, right? Like, yeah, that's literally it. It's nothing different. It's that. It's a pose that's been darkened. So yeah, still gives you the same effect, still gives you the same everything. It's just the only difference now is just black. So that's the thing. That's the thing. So there we go. And that's the whole. That's it when it comes to to staging. I'm gonna take that off our list. So we covered the poses and we covered the silhouettes, but everything else will teach. I'll continue teaching as we go along. Just stay tuned to check out my next videos. Don't forget to share, like, comment, and subscribe, and ring that notification bell so that you can receive my uploads. And I will see you guys in the next one.